drop.
Hello, GeekDomo.
Hello, everyone.
It's in honor of the Domo.
Yeah.
I think you're muted. I heard you.
Okay. Now I'm not muted anymore. I forgot to unmute myself. But anyways, everyone said hi, but now I'm saying hi. And so, GeekDomo, since you're our special guest, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing here.
Sure. I am GeekDomo, mightiest domo in all the land. No, actually, I'm GeekDomo. I have my own YouTube channel. I have my own podcast. We do a couple of different ones. One of them is an EverQuest Next podcast where we do where we talk about EverQuest Next. It's called Into the Portal, and it's doing pretty well. We get a lot of people viewing, and some devs show up every once in a while to pick on us, and it's a lot of fun. My experience with EverQuest is I used to be a guide on Irolusi Mar back in the early days because I started as a beta tester for EverQuest. So I went on from that to play a lot of other games, a lot of other MMOs. I played Dark Ages of Camelot, pretty much any MMO you can think of, Anarchy Online, Star Wars Galaxies. See some of them, the boxes are behind me. And then on into WoW, and that kind of sucked my soul out for a long time. But
yeah.
Yeah.
you sound like almost every EverQuest player ever. That we
Yes.
all we all went to EverQuest and then we kept looking for EverQuest again. And,
Yeah.
And keep looking for it, and hopefully this is it. Maybe not. We'll
It's
see.
kind of like one of those things. It's like a fix, you know. It's like we're heroin addicts, and we're looking for that next game that gives us the same feeling that we had when we played the first one, which was EverQuest. And we're hoping the next one's going to be better, next one's going to be better. But there's a little bit of nostalgia built into that because you find that if you do go back and play these older games, they really sucked. So we play a lot of. I've been playing a lot of just regular EverQuest. There's a version you can play called Project 1999, which allows you to play just right after the Runes of Kunark expansion. And I've been playing a lot of that, and I'm just like, holy crap, this game's terrible.
It's like, it's pretty much just run around and kill stuff and hope you don't die, and
Yeah.
you gotta run back and get your corpse and everything. That's exactly when I joined too, right after Runes of Kunark. And so
Yep.
So anyways, we have just a few things to talk about this evening. We'll get right into it. The first thing we're going to talk about is the roundtable response they just put up, the video responding to the question they put out about 1 guild per character in EverQuest Next or more per character. And so, Nautica, first of all, what did you just think about this question last time that we talked about it?
Well, we all know that Guild Wars 2 kind of threw that in as their big thing of going from guild, you can have multiple guilds with one character. And I think it was a good idea at first because you have a lot of small guilds who are looking to try to be able to say, hey, I PvP with this group, but I do PvE with that group. So I think it was more catering to the small guild aspect. But when you look at like Grievance, or bigger guilds, it doesn't really pertain to them because we have a PvP section, we have a PvE group, we have raiding, we have all these other different sections. So I think it was really catering to the smaller guilds than the big guilds, and so you have that you have that kind of fight between the two, right? The big guilds are like, oh, this is horrible, but then the small guilds are like, ah, thank you, because now when I have one person on in my guild at 9 o'clock at night, and this other guild has like 20 people on, I can jump over to them and represent with them, going out doing questing or whatever else there is to be.
Yeah, yeah. And me, I've always been a one guild person, so when I got into Guild Wars 2, it was always hard for me, and even some of the, like at the beginning, that we thought there was going to be like these hardcore guilds because we didn't know exactly what end game was going to be like, and they were like, if you're not representing us, you can't be part of this guild, or you can't be with us. And so I've always been a one guild kind of person. I've never seen a reason for two guilds. But when you saw this question, GeekDomo, what was your response to it?
Yeah, I immediately went to Guild Wars 2 because I was a big proponent of the Guild Wars 2. My previous channel was the Geekosaurus, and I went crazy with Guild Wars 2. I did as much coverage of that, actually more coverage of Guild Wars 2 than I've done with EverQuest Next. So I was really excited about it, and when I got in there, the premise was beautiful. Like, hey, I can belong to this guild, I can belong to that guild, I can belong to all these different guilds, and just enjoy it that way. But with the actual application, when you finally got in there and were doing it, it just got really cluttery. And it was like sometimes I was on and people were like, hey, I see you're on, come over here and join us because we're trying to do this raid. And then, hey, I see you're on, can you come over here and help us with this thing? And it got to be where we're being pulled different directions. And it's one of those deals where if you have allegiance to more than one thing, it can just ruin everything. You know, you don't have enough invested in one particular thing. So personally, I think the idea was terrible. So I'm kind of glad to see that they're talking about this in EverQuest Next to say that, you know what, just one guild per person and move on.
Yeah, yeah. And so it was interesting to see how they responded to it in the video, because, well, first of all, at the moment, the percentages for the votes, the top two were, I prefer to keep it simple. One character can belong to one guild, no more. So that's 45%. That's the highest voted one right now, which most of us can agree. Maybe not Nautica, but then you could say maybe a close second. I like different types of guilds. The examples they gave were families, alliances, or guilds where you can belong to each of one type, maybe, and that's at 36%. And so they mentioned that they might be going that way in EverQuest Next, and they mentioned reasons why they might go that way. And they said obviously for crafters, they want to be with crafters, and raiders, they want to be with raiders. But what do you guys think? Do you think that's a problem? Did you ever find that as a problem in a guild, being a raider, that you needed to find crafters, or being a crafter, you needed to find raiders, and vice versa?
I'm going to say no. I'll go ahead first.
Okay.
I'm going to say, even though like I've seen a lot of smaller guilds like the aspect of going into multiple guilds, but like, again, from the big guild aspect, kind of like Grievance, you know, we have all that. So we have PvE people, we have crafter people and stuff like that. Smaller guilds, you know, not everyone has that type of, you know, flexibility of, hey, I don't want to have to disband to go join this other guild, because if we do it as a full guild, the raid, we get extra points, you know, and so that aspect comes into play, right? Because a lot of games now, for more participation, they give you rewards. And so I think when we're starting to see that more and more now, that, you know, if you're crafting with, you know, your guild, you get guild points or guild contribution, and WoW and all the other games now are doing that, where, you know, you have achievement points and your guild gets more rep, to where it's kind of almost, you don't want to sit there and be like, okay, no one's on my guild at midnight, I go help out this other guild, but I'm getting nothing out of it, you know. So I think, you know, doing the multiple guilds, that's where I see it coming into play. But like I said, big guilds like us and other guilds that are out there that are larger, that's not really a concern.
Yeah. And how about you, Geek?
Yeah, there are some problems with being stuck in one guild like that. So you are on and you just want to be out leveling. You know, you're playing your low-level character, and then of course EverQuest Next doesn't have levels, but we won't go there. But you want private time. You just want to play. And oh, sorry, my camera froze up there for a second. You just want to go out there and just have a good time. And somebody could be on and they want to raid, and they're going to bug you. They're going to say, hey, come on out here and do this with us. And you're like, no, I just want to go pick flowers. So that's a problem. And I could see that even in larger guilds are even worse about that because they have a 25-man raid and they've got 24 people. And you're the 25th. And they know you have a high-level character and you have somebody who's raid ready. And you know you won't be able to log in that. So that's where the whole multiple guild thing was nice. So I'll play devil's advocate for a second.
Awesome.
And just being able to switch to a different guild and hide in that other guild, so you just want to craft, pick flowers, but you kind of get left alone. And so there's always going to be that. I don't know if there's ever a good answer how to get out of being uncomfortable, and I don't know if it's up to the developers to placate everybody, to say, okay, we're going to make it this way because it makes this easier, that you don't have to feel uncomfortable when somebody's talking to you and asking you to come on a raid, but then it screws everything else up when as far as being elite alliance to different guilds.
Yeah, and I definitely thought in Guild Wars it was uncomfortable because it would still show you in the guild and you're still showing online. It just doesn't have that little flag next to you like you're representing. So it's like, oh, hey, why is this person not representing us right now? And
Exactly.
So it was a little awkward. You're like, because I want to do this instead of be with you guys right now. What were we gonna say, Nautica?
Oh, I was gonna say it's kind of funny you mentioned that because about 6 months ago, I did that exact situation happened where I was on a alt on WoW, and because they have my BattleNet account, they're all, "Hey, why don't you come raid with us on your level 90 paladin?" And I was like, "No, I'm just leveling my alt." And I'm like, "I'm not even on the same server as you right now. Like, I'm your alliance. I'm on a horde, leveling this horde character. Leave me alone." So,
Well, you're nice. No, no wonder
I see
nobody
that.
wants to raid with you anymore.
So that's why I went to FPS.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's why you're playing Battlefield right now, right?
Exactly.
And everyone else. Well, and so they mentioned, why is this going to be different in EverQuest Next? Why may we want to have multiple guilds rather than just one guild and this awkwardness? And they said that for one tune on each guild kind of, in a way, doesn't make sense with EverQuest because, like we said, there's no levels. There's not a need for more than one tune because your tune can be every crafter,
Everything.
everything.
Yep.
And so what would be the need? Well, they said because of the process of creation and EverQuest landmark will push others to want to be in different guilds. Does that
I
make
can
sense?
see that, I guess. Yeah.
How about you, Nautica, with your...
I don't know. Landmark, I feel like every time I hear stuff about EverQuest Landmark for the last month, I feel like I'm getting trapped and I don't know it yet. With
What do you
mean? With like, we're gonna, we talked about bringing out spells and, we're gonna add, all these things to Landmark, making it basically look like an alpha or beta test for players. And then, so I'm always wondering what's the main drive behind doing all this stuff in Landmark. I really want to know what the real purpose of Landmark is, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, Landmark is I'll fill you in if you want.
Perfect.
But it's kind of like it's Minecraft on steroids because you can build things, and I guess that's the part they're trying to segregate out with the guild system. Maybe is that you can make whatever you want. You want to make a Victorian house, you can do that. If you want to build something more medieval, you can do that. If you want to build the Starship Enterprise, you can do that too. So because of that, and like Dash was saying, you have the ability to do all these things done with one single character. There really is no need to have multiple alts. Unless you just want something for aesthetics, like you want a female character and maybe you want a male, like a more brutal looking male character or whatever. That's the only reason to make an alt, because you'll be able to do everything in Landmark. So, and Landmark is supposed to be the full-fledged MMO. Personally, I think it's Sony's idea to make it an open beta test for EverQuest Next. Yeah. So everyone's going to be playing Landmark, doing all this stuff, building things that you will be able to port into EverQuest Next if it fits the theme of the game. But all the other stuff, you can just go willy-nilly and build on your own, so it's completely free to play and enjoy yourself.
Yeah, I've always felt like it's an excuse to test out their engine and test out how all this is going to work so that they can make it nice and clean for EverQuest Next. And so then they have a sandbox game, and then they have a not so much sandbox game, sand park if you want to call it that.
Yeah, it's kind of a sand park,
Yeah,
I think,
sand
right
park
now.
with EverQuest Next. But we still don't know much about EverQuest Next yet, but we can't wait
And
to
that could be
see.
a couple years out.
Yeah, exactly, and so, depending on how Landmark goes, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, and so for me, I've always been like that one guild. It's like I don't see any reason why I should be in different guilds. But then their point, since you're only gonna have one character, you might want to be with different guilds. Like on our last cast, we had Steelheart on, and I was talking about how cool would it be to be on an island, maybe a continent, and everyone builds sci-fi
Hmm.
in EverQuest Landmark, and he's like, no, that's not EverQuest or whatever, and so they wanted to be on that. Well, should I join a different group of people and be in my sci-fi guild when I want to get on
It makes
and
sense.
build that way? Yeah, it makes sense. But they mentioned that they would like to know where we have seen it work and not work. And so we mentioned Guild Wars 2 a little bit, but have we seen multiple guilds work anywhere else or not work so well anywhere else that you guys can think of?
I don't know right off the top of my head any that you did the Guild Wars 2 thing. That was sort of the first time I ever saw anything like that.
Yeah. See, I was thinking of, to me, one that kind of works is in Final Fantasy with the, what are they called? The link shells?
That confused me. I didn't ever get the name. I did play Final Fantasy, but I just don't know what Link Shell meant. So I
Okay.
didn't know if that was a group or a guild or what that was.
There's link shells, and then there's what are the guilds called? I can't even remember what the guilds are called. But they have a guild, and then they have a link shell. And a link
Right.
shell is basically a group of people you have a chat window with. But you have your own little UI that, okay, these are the people in your link shell, and so you can talk with them. But then you still have your guild, like these are your people and everything. But if you want to be a separate crafter, sci-fi crafter over here, you can have your link shell or
I see.
your glorified chat window with your little UI that shows all your people in the group. And to me, like, it seemed kind of silly at first, like confusing, like, okay, why is there two different separate groups? Like, it seems like a lesser group and a bigger group. But then when I was thinking of EverQuest Next, I was like, okay, this might not be such a bad idea to have this group that it's not like you're dedicated to them, but hey, you like to play with these people for this specific reason, then why not be able to join up with a separate group like that? What do you guys think about how they did it in Final Fantasy in that way?
I really can't speak to that too much. I didn't get that far. I got Final Fantasy when it came out, and all of the connection issues just totally turned me off to it. And I played it. I think I have like 5 or 6 characters that are about level 7, and that's about all I got. And then my 30 days ran out. Yeah, all on different servers.
No.
Yep, Japanese servers, some European servers. Yeah, it was all over the place because of all the connection problems.
Yeah, yeah.
So I never really dedicated much time to it. And after the 30 days ran out, I was like, forget it.
Yeah. And so I think that's maybe an area that it could work. We'll see. I don't know if anyone's mentioned to it. I guess I should get on the forums and let them know. Or tweet one of them like they keep on saying. So yeah. But we'll move on to the next subject about the moddable UI. They put out that question. That's the next roundtable question they have for us. And so they want to know our thoughts on a moddable UI. And the choices they gave, they want to find out if we want a UI that is best for me, whether it's player created or SOE or the mix of the two. Then it's I want to have customization options in SOE UI, but I don't usually use third-party creations, or I would be open to using a third-party mod as long as SOE had approved it in some fashion, or third-party mods should not be allowed at all by SOE. So what are you guys' thoughts? Moddable UIs.
You want to go first, Nautica?
Sure. I love them. World of Warcraft, I had 90 different buttons, and it got out of control. And so having a moddable UI to be able to have, I had these big old blocks on my right hand side that would tell me when my cooldown was up, and it was so nice to have that because when I looked at the bottom of my screen, it was like I had 60 boxes down there, and they're so small because I had so many that I had to, blow them up on the right-hand side. So when they popped up, I knew that, it's ready to cast my next, fireball or, cast my divine shield and so able to mod that to make it to where, I can adjust my UI freely, or even the mods like Elv UI is a huge UI for World of Warcraft. They've done a great job allowing people to mod it to how they want to and to their style. I think it's a big need, and the reason why is because we're having more and more people who's coming into gaming, and to be able to have tools like ElvUI and stuff that's easy to use, it's easy to modify your screen. It makes it easier for new people who are coming into gaming to be able to customize and make the game easier for them. But I'm a huge modder when it comes to UI, and I'm sure a lot of other people are out there too.
Yeah, definitely.
I have a little different take.
Oh.
My take is this. I'm all for the UI customization where if I want, flowers around the edge of my screen and all the other things that I could do in World of Warcraft, I'm all for that. But there are certain mods I do not want under any circumstance. And specifically, recount. Okay? Because recount does something to a game that is beyond what it seems on the surface. If you get a recount, for those who might not know what I'm talking about, it's a parser. It's a combat parser, which it takes the data as it's coming through, like you did 5 points of damage, 10 points of damage, 6 points of damage, and it parses it together, and it comes up with a nice little bar graph showing you exactly how much damage you're doing. And while that's great for you to be able to figure out exactly what spells, rotations, whatever work best, it also is publicly open, so everyone else can see exactly what damage you're doing, how much healing you're doing, whatever. And that tends to cripple an MMO in some regards, because then it turns into, oh my god, you're only doing 10,000 DPS, you should be doing 22,000 DPS, you suck. And while that is good in some regard because it helps the players that are really bad trying to get better, but it also leaves it wide open for people to abuse that. Yeah. So yeah, exactly. And that's why I think that yes to some mods, but no to other mods. And I think even on that poll, I voted that it would have to be approved by SOE. I'm okay with mods as long as they're pre-approved. And I think any kind of UI mods, move things around, make your buttons bigger or smaller, whatever, especially for people who might be colorblind or those kind of issues. There's some great mods that you can get that help out with that. And I'm all for that because it actually opens EverQuest Next up to a bigger audience that way. Yeah. But there are certain ones that I say, let's not bring those in if we can help it.
Yeah, and I agree with that too. Especially, I think some of the mods that make it easier to do some things, where it's like almost like you just press one button and it does everything for you. Mm-hmm. But then imagine someone who doesn't know about that mod, or someone who's just new to the game, or someone who's never played an MMO or whatever, and they're struggling. Like, how can someone do that kind of healing or do that kind of DPS, and they don't know how to do it? But it's all because someone has made a mod that they click one button and does their rotation for them. Or
I was a big fan of Healbot.
Yeah, exactly. And so to me, those mods almost ruin it for me, because unless everyone has that mod, then it's an even playing field. But like you're saying, if it's approved by SOE, then maybe it's something that everybody will know about, or they'll have an area where you can look at the add-ons that you can get for EQN and how you can do it. But
especially ones like Auctioneer, that's a great one that you can use to make money, Things like that I think are great, because I'm really bad at math, and if I had something that could help me with the auction house issue, figure out, okay, if I sell it on this auction house versus this auction house, I can make more money, so I should spend the time to travel to that other one. Those kind of add-ons I think are great, but it gets a little bit hairy when you start talking about performance add-ons.
Yeah, I remember rating EverQuest 2, and EverQuest 2 had a parser, and it took the information straight from the game. It wasn't taking it from the text or anything. It was like parsing exactly what everybody was doing, and everyone could see exactly at what second you click this or that, and it was like terrible, because after the raid, people could pick your healing apart, or people can pick your DPS apart, and why weren't you doing this, or why weren't you doing that? And I know it's because everyone wants to do the best, but then it's like, where did the joy go in playing this game? And so the fun went away.
And there's sites like Noxic, which kind of almost require you to build your system, build your character exactly this way, so everybody becomes a cookie cutter.
Yeah.
Like, unless they're not using Noxic, which means they're going to fail because they're not using the best rotation or whatever of the flavor of the month. Yeah. And so they've made Sony has made definite stands to say, we want you to be able to know every single thing you need to within the game or the Sony community. We do not want you to have to go out to websites to look up that, okay, on this one I have to have this one, and this one selected, and on this particular character class I've got to pull this one in, and I got to pull this one in to get the most damage or whatever. There are going to be sites that are going to do that, but the more that they can hold that back, I think is better, because then it's more free. You can kind of experiment, see what the style of play that you like to play, which is the most important thing. I don't want to have to play my Pandarian monk exactly this way because they tell me I have to play it that way. I wanted to experiment, you know?
Yeah. Oh, were you gonna say something, Nautica?
Yeah, I was gonna say, one thing, it brings me back to is thinking before WoW and before Recount, back to the EverQuest games, Dark Ages of Camelot and stuff like that. People today, when they do raids and they have Recount, instead of trying to play as a team, they try to point out whose fault is it. It's never my fault; it's their fault.
Yes.
And back then, we never used. I can remember so many times doing raids and doing events to where it was like, let's look around, let's see what's going on. Did we miss something? Can you do your spell first? I'll do mine second. And it was more of a community working together on figure out how to beat the raid boss, instead of saying, hey, you need to go grind out and get more gear to up your DPS by 5k. And today people try to do it to math, and a lot of times it doesn't have to be done by math. It's just figuring out how to work as a team, which is more beneficial than just telling people they need to up their stats.
Yeah.
It's not teamwork anymore.
No, it isn't. It's
at least with World of Warcraft.
Yeah, and so going along the same thought, then, do you think that the way the combat is and the way the classes are right now, as far as we know in EverQuest Next, do you think this is going to be an issue? Are there still going to be these cookie cutter builds that we're going to have to worry about? Because we're not sure what in-game is like, or if there is even going to be kind of raiding where we have to parse each other and figure out how fast everyone's doing their DPS or the healing. What do you guys think?
I don't think that... I mean, honestly, there will be that sort of cookie cutter setup. But what they've done is they're going to do what's called, I think it was planned inferior. I forget the way that it actually is pronounced, but basically it works like this. They're going to have a character class that if you pick this particular, because you can take from each class and build your own like subclass, right?
Yeah.
So you have 40 classes. You can pick like an attack from this one, maybe a debuff from this one, and maybe something else from this one, and you put them together in your own little special class that you made yourself. They are going to have some of those that are on purpose the best flavor of the month. Okay, that is always going to be built into all MMOs, and there's a reason for it. And a lot of people used to complain that Paladin, they're so overpowered and we can't win against them. And then it became warlocks, and it became rogues. All these different things happen in World of Warcraft, and everyone complained. But there actually is a reason for that, because once everybody starts playing that class, now oh god, paladins are the best now, so let's start playing them. It causes you to do one of two things: either you just quit and give up, or you try to figure out a strategy to pass them or to beat them up. So you're going to try out this particular rotation. Oh, that works. Okay, this one doesn't work. And then you're going to be able to take that and turn it into something else. So what I'm trying to say is, with the paladin, like say the paladin is the flavor of the month, and you're doing that particular rotation to beat them. I kind of got lost.
No, it's okay. It's complicated with over 80 or how many 40 classes. With
40 classes, yes. Yeah. So anyway, you're building your flavor of the month class, and then what ends up happening is now the people figured out that if you take Warlock and you add these particular spells to the rotation, you will beat Paladin, and then everybody starts playing Warlock because they're trying to beat Paladin.
Yeah.
And so that is built into this game, and they're trying to do that on purpose. So there will be to answer your question, there will be a flavor of the month that they're going to be rotating through from time to time. With 40, it could be months before that particular rotation goes back around to the next class that it was doing that with.
Yeah. But what about for maybe grouping? Because I think one of the things I enjoyed about Guild Wars 2, even though it was a lot of zerging and everything, is like while you were leveling and stuff, you weren't worried about hey, that person's not doing what they should be doing, or that person wasn't doing their DPS, or that. Like, when people died, you didn't get mad at them. You actually went and helped them.
You went over and helped them.
Yeah,
exactly.
Exactly.
I love that in Guild Wars. Yeah, that was great.
And so you really felt the sense of, okay, everyone's here to help each other. And I kind of get that same sense of EverQuest 2, because it has that same kind of, right now it looks like that same kind of action combat. It's obviously going to have these zone events what do they call it? I always forget the name they use.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Not rallying calls. Oh, rallying calls in
Rallying calls.
EverQuest Next. Yeah.
Yeah. And so everyone's gonna be working to the same kind of goal.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not gonna be about how much DPS this person's doing or everything, but it's almost like kind of that same thing that EverQuest, like when you logged into EverQuest, you just wanted to get with a group of people and go explore or go into a dungeon, and you weren't concerned about, okay, this person isn't doing 3k DPS when they should be doing 4k DPS or something. It was just, okay, we're in this dungeon and I hope we don't die, and I hope this is okay, and so I feel like that's kind of the same path we're going along, hopefully, with EverQuest Next.
I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so. And Nautica, you were talking about that, I think, before the cast, right?
About the Zerging.
The Zerging.
You know, it's kind of funny because in Guild Wars 2, I was a really early alpha tester, and I remember when they put down the first dungeon and they had us go through it, and we were all amped up that night. You know, me and about 10 other people were like, "Oh, it's gonna be awesome! We can't wait to see this." And when we first rolled in, and it was one of the skeletons, we went in and we all looked at each other and we're like, "Who goes first?"
Yeah.
We were like, wait a minute. I'm an elementalist, you know. We were like, you're a paladin, but you're kind of you're not really buffed out to be a paladin. We're like, who goes? So we all looked at each other and we just decided, hey, let's all go in and see what happens. And it was so crazy. Like that concept blew our minds out of the water because we were so used to the Trinity. We're used to tank, go in, heal, DPS, wait 5 seconds, go kill everything. And so, you know, from that aspect, it was a very different way of playing. And I don't want to say it's the new way of going, but I think that we saw a sneak peek of what the future MMOs are probably going to have, where it's not... Where, yeah, Guild Wars 2 was a Zerg, but I think we're going to see what's going to be called an organized Zerg, you know, a little bit more in the future, which is kind of interesting. But, I mean, today, when we talk about Zerg, I mean, look at, you know, World of Warcraft today. I almost call that as a Zerg. You know, you have tanks doing almost as much DPS as a DPS, and basically you just have healers who are just making sure everyone's health is topped off. So, I mean, you're seeing games that are using the Trinity and kind of using Trinity in a Zerg type of mentality anyways. So, you know, I think we're starting to see that kind of mentality go forward in the MMO market right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, no Trinity in EverQuest Next.
Yep.
Or Landmark.
Yeah. Or Landmark. Now that we know that combat is in Landmark.
Yeah, they just added that recently.
Yeah. So we don't even know how that's going to work. But they did mention that hopefully they're going to start having these Wednesday live streams. I guess they're doing the same thing as WildStar now. Wednesday live streams that they're going to hopefully start showing more of the game. They've been tweeting out, and hopefully we'll find more out, especially about Landmark, because that's supposed to be come out this winter.
Yes.
And especially... go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I can't wait for more video.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I've used the same footage from SOE Live for 3 months now, and I stopped making EverQuest Next videos because there's just nothing new to show, and people are like, okay, Domo, you've shown this same clip 400 times.
well, how excited were we when we got those screenshots from Landmark? We're just like, he built a square castle.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's analyze these because it's the most recent thing we've seen since they showed us new parkour at PAX Prime.
They did show the parkour packs, and I use that video clip all the time myself, like looping it.
Yeah.
But the thing I really want to see is more destruction. Right now, the destruction for plants you saw in your Iron Giant in the intro, where the Iron Giant comes down and he hits
the trees
of the house. Yeah, the tree kind of breaks and this really weird, like clunky pieces fall down.
Yeah.
And so what they've done is they've added in a layer of flexibility to it, so the tree will still snap, but it'll bend before it snaps. Okay. And that's supposed to be coming up soon, or they're going to show some of that soon. And I'm excited about that.
Yeah. I've always said the best thing I liked about Vanguard, another SOE game, was the how to chop down trees. When I first saw someone chop down a tree in Vanguard, I was like, this is the most amazing thing ever, chopping down a tree, and you can actually chop that tree up and use it and stuff. And so that's why I imagine
Build ships.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I imagined in Landmark was, okay, we're gonna go up to these plants, we're gonna go up to these trees and chop them down, and that's exactly where you need to get, where you would naturally think to get your stuff from. You're gonna go to that spot. And so, like you were saying, I'd like to see more videos of them going up to a tree, getting the wood they need, or digging into a mountain, and okay, they found a gold vein or whatever that they need, or a silver vein or something, and so it's almost like a giant Minecraft, but more beautifully and more detailed than Minecraft.
Some people in chat were asking when's this coming out. They are probably going to mention when beta is launching within the next week or week and a half. That's my prediction.
Yeah, beta for Landmark, though, right?
Yeah, beta for Landmark. Yeah, Next, forget EverQuest Next for now. We're going to be beta testing EverQuest Next while we're playing Landmark.
Yeah, exactly. So, any last thoughts before we sign off, Nautica?
Kind of looking forward to seeing. One thing I would keep in mind. I've talked to a lot of friends about Landmark and EverQuest and stuff, and I think the one thing that we're looking. I think you hit a perfect GeekDomo on the destruction part. They showed breaking a hole in the ground and stuff, and I think that's what I'm waiting to see if I can. And then to talk about PvP. So can I break a hole below someone in PvP and have them drop down into level 80 elite mobs and they die? I mean, that's stuff I'm waiting to see. So hope we see that soon.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Anything else, GeekDomo?
No. Thanks for having me tonight.
Yeah.
Where
can people find you? And
they can
into the portal.
Into the portal is every Friday night where we do the show live just like this, around 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern. I'm sorry it's never a solid time. It's because we have two different time zones we're dealing with. I'm in New York, and one of our podcast people is in California, and the other one's in London.
Oh wow!
So I'm right between them.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to, like, he might be working late or whatever, and it shifts everything over. So we try to hit it every Friday night.
Okay. Yeah.
And come on over and chat with us over there. My Twitter is @GeekDomo, and my YouTube is GeekDomo. So it's pretty easy to find me.
Okay.
And Shrivasta just nailed it. Thank you.
Just post
Carmen.
it. There you go. And Nautica, thank you for coming on.
Anytime.
You can find Nautica just here randomly in our cast to talk about EverQuest, and definitely get his different point of view from not necessarily being an EverQuest player, but being interested in Landmark and EverQuest Next, and getting that different point of view. We definitely appreciate that. And I'm Dash. You can follow me at Dashiva on Twitter, and you can find us here at 7 p.m. Central Time every Wednesday, and usually on Thursdays we have our WildStar podcast, but since tomorrow's Halloween, we won't be having a podcast because everyone will be out partying or hopefully doing something. Yeah, hopefully doing something. And so we'll look forward to that next week. But we want to thank you again, GeekDomo, for coming on.
Of course,
Everyone, be sure to follow him and watch his show Into the Portal. They talk about many of the same things we talk about here, and just different points of view.
Yep.
So thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Make sure to go to our YouTube channel at Grievance Gaming. Watch all the different shows that we have on there. And thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.
See ya.